suppose we should get a camera out and do a little intro to today's video, where we hopefully catch a whole bunch of walleyes. We'll see. What is going on, guys? We're back with another video. At least hopefully we're back for another video. As if you're watching this, you can be assured that we did get the video. But at this point in the game, I am not sure. Why have we not done a lot of uploads in the last couple weeks here? Well, I was in Minnesota for a little while, and this is how about the entire trip went. Massive winds, massive fronts, caught some walleyes, yeah, didn't really film a whole lot. But today we are out, and the second reason you haven't seen a lot of videos is because fishing has just been brutal in my area. And there's really two reasons why fishing can be incredibly difficult. First reason is you just can't find fish, right? You know, if you're just not catching a lot of fish, it could be because you can't find a lot of fish. Or if you're checking all the good spots you normally fish, or all the likely spots you think should be holding fish, and you catch, like, there's a couple here and you catch one, you go hit 3 more spots, there's no fish. That is not the reason we're not catching fish. The reason we're not catching fish is because I cannot get them to bite. And there's a couple different things you can do when it gets tough like this, or just tough to get bites. And one thing I like to do is basically go back to basics, simplify everything, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. First thing we got to do here is find them, which should not be too long of a process, because I know right where they all are, because I've been staring at them on the graph all week and only getting a few here and there. But we're kind of rolling up on a rock hump here, and I guess I'll talk you through the process. But a lot of the fish I'm getting are in that, I would say, there might be some fish shallower on weeds in like 14, 17, but a lot of this like 17 to like 24 foot stuff has been holding a lot of walleyes for me. And that's kind of been a similar pattern to probably a lot of places right now in walleye world. And you know, probably some of the last videos you saw me make were a lot of spinner rigging videos. And that bite is still getting a few bites, but it's just not like the thing, you know? I have not been able to figure out that one thing that's like, this is the thing that makes them click right now, and then go out and be super productive. And okay, so this is exactly what we want to see. So I'm gonna hit mark here. Now, what you're gonna see here is ball of perch, more perch. Actually, there's one little weed stock in there, but this is our ball of walleyes, right? And it's a pretty good pocket of fish. And they're sandwiched between 2 balls of perch. And we have to try to catch those fish, which hopefully should not be incredibly difficult, but I can already guarantee you that it is going to be challenging just based on how fishing it has been this week. So I threw a waypoint on those fish, and yeah, I mean, basically the 2 reasons fish can be tough, like we talked about, is you can't get a bite, number 1, and I don't really like to overthink the process of why I can't get a bite. But you know, it could be weather, it could be a bug hatch, it could be fishing pressure, right? There's a lot of different reasons why it might be difficult to get a bite. And then the other reason is obviously you just can't find them, but that is not our issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and spot lock here. We're gonna walk you through the process and hopefully how we're gonna get these difficult fish that do not want to cooperate to bite. Fish on, just like that, on the jig. Look at that too, exactly what we're after. Slowing way down. Now this is a very average sized walleye, but for how it's been for the first couple minutes, this is big win. Back to basics walleye fishing, as simple as it gets. Surly is even excited to see a walleye again. I don't blame him. It has been very tough. Like we talked about, there's a few different reasons it can be tough, but it is not because I cannot find fish. Fish are exactly where they should be. I don't know, you know, there's so many variables I hate to even worry about what it could potentially be, but we'll take it. We're not even gonna worry about that. There we go. It's a beautiful northern Wisconsin eater. It's about an 18-incher there. We're gonna let him go. Let's do it again. What in the world is this? Well, look at that. We have caught 2 walleyes so far. Not big. Not big at all. There's about probably just shy of 15. But we are getting closer. Number 2 on the jig. All right, so when the bite gets tough, what kind of rigs are we going to? And basically I like to go back to basics, like I kind of said in the intro. And what I don't want to do is, you know, I think a lot of us, when the bite gets tough, you know, let's say we're catching them good on crankbaits, all of a sudden we can't get bit on a crankbait anymore. And you know, what's our first thought? Oh, do we have the wrong color on? Do we have the wrong crankbait on? A lot of times I like to go revert all the way back to the most basic presentations possible, right? And generally this is some kind of live bait accompanied with some kind of lead or some kind of weight when you're walleye fishing, right? And there's three main things that kind of come to mind for me, right? As far as rigging ways. Now when we're talking about live bait, we're talking about generally in the summer, crawlers, leeches, or possibly minnows, right? And in my area, they don't like minnows a lot in the middle of summer, right? So the three presentations that I am using, and I'm accompanying them with both jumbo leeches and crawlers. One, slip bobber fishing, right? A piece of meat hanging in front of that fish in the water column, right? Sometimes something like this will do the trick, right? And this is a very basic form presentation. Obviously, you've seen me film this a lot. Put a crawler or leech on there, cast it at fish, wait, right? Number two, a Lindy rig. And this is, you know, it definitely does work, and it's kind of lake to lake for me. Like for some reason, fish in Minnesota, I have a lot of success Lindy rigging or rigging with crawlers, leeches, or minnows. I do a lot of this in the fall for walleyes, but I don't have a ton of success in Wisconsin and these kind of the lakes I fish, but it is a great way to present live bait. And normally when you're fishing a Lindy rig, what you're doing is moving through an area that generally has fish, right? And you're gonna stick that crawler, leech, or minnow on there, and you're just holding the rod like that. And basically all the Lindy rig is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a hook, several feet of line, to a weight, generally something 3/8 ounce or up in the summer if you're fishing deeper, and then to your main line, right? The principle is the fish grabs it, just that weightless drifting leech or crawler, and runs away with it, and you set the hook, right? And the other presentation, which is the most basic form, is obviously the jig. And this is what I am doing for the most part today. We're doing some slip bobbering as well, but a jig is as basic as it gets, right? And I kind of go back and forth on this stuff between crawlers and leeches in the summer to kind of see what fish want. So far, we've caught one on each thing, but that's not a big deal. We are catching fish. And another thing to note is that I'm not going super heavy, right? I want this thing to look as lifelike, as floaty, as finessey as possible. What I'm not trying to do is trying to surprise these fish by having a bait just boom all of a sudden in their face. What I'm trying to do is just sneak it into them, right? They see that thing just floating and hanging there because I'm fishing an 1/8 ounce Google Eye jig, and you know, then they come by and slurp it up. Very lifelike, very natural presentation. And the reason I love this Google Eye so much for fishing leeches and crawlers on is because of this wire keeper on here. I'm not sure how well it's focusing, but you can see it's got a little wire keeper right there. And basically, if you're fishing a jig that does not have that, what's gonna happen is you're just gonna keep getting pulled down, and especially if you have a leech on, that thing's gonna end up jumbled up all over. And what I like to do with these 1/8 ounce Kalen's Google Eye jigs is I like to take it and I like to kind of thread the leech on like that. And then all I do is I pop the top of that leech through that wire keeper. And it kind of works just like a jig in a plastic. It keeps it on there really good. And this thing's kind of dried up. You can see how short and fat it is, but it keeps it on there real good. And what I don't want to have happen is this thing pull down if I don't have that wire keeper. In fact, it's just really on there right now, and kind of just fall off on its own. But that's what I'm using for now. So when the bite does get tough, what I like to do is just keep it simple, fish a lot of live bait, and work through them methodically. All right, guys, so the other thing you can do in a tough bite is increase the number of lines you can fish. So we picked up Hayes, the local bass legend, and we're gonna try to get some more of these walleyes to eat. And you know, because we have now 2 people in the boat, we're gonna implement a couple of slip bobbers and jig at the same time. And fish on the slip bobber this time. Had to put that thing in front of them many times, as is often the case. Just very slow, methodical fishing. That is a nice summer walleye. Very frustrating. We actually moved spots and came down to a little weed edge. Sometimes what you can do when the bite's tough is try like multiple different things. Like you might have a really tough deep rock bite, and sometimes going to something like a weed edge, you'll see that bite pick up, or those fish might be a little more active. But I don't think that's the case because we've been sitting here for quite a while now trying to get them. But there we go. Everyone is a win today. There we go, beautiful Wisconsin walleye. Like I said, each fish we catch today is a win. There's a nice about 19-incher, we'll let him go. Like I said, that one came on the slip bobber. You know, a couple productive ways like we talked about is anything live bait, very simple approach. And yeah, that one's slip bobber and leech, something that's just hanging there in their face, waiting for them to bite. What do we got? A little scrapper smallmouth, or is it a walleye?
I don't know.
Walleye, walleye, walleye. Gotta be
no
a
head
walleye.
shakes, no head shakes. It's a walleye.
Oh yeah,
It's a walleye, baby. Here we go.
Figuring them out.
Here we go.
This guy's got rods over here. He's got rods between his legs.
No fish on that one. There we go. Right to you.
Just a nice little
Look at that,
15-inch
huh?
scrapper. Now, are these big walleyes? No. But is it a victory? Absolutely. Fish on. Feels like a bass.
Yes.
Feels a lot like a small one. But it is not.
Oh.
Oh, thank the Lord. Another walleye on. Just gonna do the boat flip, and we got him. And this is kind of what I was talking about, where a lot of times you can be fishing two different locations, like one type of fishing you can be doing in 20. Oh, there he goes. He's squirrely. 20 plus feet of water, kind of targeting a lot of those deep rockfish. And sometimes if you pull up to a weed edge, you do get a little bit better activity. I would say overall, in a finicky bite, a lot of times your shallower fish will be more active. Are you doing a little double video here?
I was getting you from behind.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Sending them back. All right, so another thing you can do when it's incredibly tough is, number one, you want to eliminate the amount of time you're not fishing in fish, right? And there's a lot of presentations that are keyed on covering a lot of water, like trolling or like bombing a plastic, snapping it back, or any of those presentations that you're fishing relatively fast to cover water to get in fish. Those are not a lot of the things in which I like to do unless I absolutely have to and the bite gets tough. What I really want to do is either be positioned right over fish where I can stare at them on my down imaging and my sonar, right? So I know that when I'm vertically jigging or bobber fishing or lindy rigging, that I'm right in those fish. The other thing I like to do is, like, if I'm fishing a big shallow flat or like a weed edge, what I'll do is I'll spot lock perpendicular to those fish so I can watch them on side imaging, right? So I know I can make repetitive casts, and as long as I can see those fish, a distance off my left side or my right side, I know that I'm always in those fish. And let's say, I make 3 or 4 casts with a leech at those fish in a jig and I'm not getting bit. Well, then I might try a slip bobber, throw a slip bobber and a crawler out there and make sure it's in those fish, and watch those fish and watch where your slip bobber is. And it's those type of things, making sure you're in fish, that number one lets you know if you have to change presentations or not, or number two, just be patient and continue working through that pot of fish, or number three, obviously, that those fish moved and that what you're doing isn't working because you're not around fish. So when the bite's tough, it really is a lot of those little things that keep you catching fish, versus a lot of other guys that might see a pot of fish, pull up, fish, but not keep track of that school, and they might be fishing the majority of the time they're on that spot after those fish already left. So keep that in mind. When the bite does get tough, it really is those little things. Fish on. That ain't no smallmouth. There's no way, dude. I just side imaged this fish, cast it out. I'd be surprised if that other bobber didn't go down. Don't even tell me. This has got to be a 21, 22-inch fish. Oh, I don't know. It keeps doing weird smallmouth things, though.
No, it's not. It doesn't have the head shakes like the smallies do, though. Yeah, it's just one big dominant. It's a nice fish.
Come on. Come on. There's like one fish in every video, which is just a crucial, pivotal fish catch. I really am hoping that this is a 24-incher.
This is
34-incher.
Oh.
Come on. Be the right thing. I don't know, man. You think it's a walleye? Oh, it's a nice walleye. That is the one we needed. Crucial moment right here. I've spent many hours this week trying to catch walleyes. There we go. We needed that one.
And the net.
That was a very important fish catch.
Nice.
We'll give you guys a look. What do you have to say?
I like smallmouth fishing, but this is also very fun.
Beauty. So what you guys saw there was something that you've probably seen me do quite a bit, is looking at the side imaging. We're putting up this weed edge. I just saw a little pod there and flipped right out to him right away with the slip bobber, and that first one went down. If you look on the side imaging here, what we have off the left, you actually can't quite see the weed edge, but here's my walleyes coming through. A couple right there, a couple right there, a couple right there. Then you kind of gauge it. So this is 80 feet to the left, so we're throwing about halfway, about 30, 40 feet off my left. That's where those fish are coming through, right off a weed edge.
Yes.
Fish on. Doesn't feel super big, but putting them together, slowly but surely, you do the right thing and be patient with it. Make sure you're in fish, and you can make it happen. There we go. There's another perfect northern Wisconsin walleye. And like I've said, very difficult conditions. There's not a lot of things you can do with great success right now. And if you find yourself, holy cow, that fish is not getting out. If you find yourself in the position where you're just not catching a lot of fish, it's very tempting to try to find that fancy new thing that's gonna work or some crazy technique. But oftentimes, practically, it is going back to the basics, doing simple things with live baits. Hooks, weights, live bait, and you can catch walleyes almost any time of year when the bite does get tough. Just let them go. Beauty. See you later, dude. All right, guys, well, thank you guys for watching. That's gonna wrap up today's short little video. I don't know if probably when I edit this video, it won't look like the bite was challenging, but it really has been incredibly tough. And a lot of times when you're faced with a tough bite, obviously the number one thing I do is simplify everything. Go to the stuff that you know is probably the most likely to get a bit when you present it into a fish, right? And number two, you know, be in those fish. You know, pay extra attention to where those fish are. Make sure you're fishing in them, and don't overthink things too much. You know, I have no idea why. It looks like a gorgeous walleye day. This is how a whole bunch of days in the past week have looked. Yeah, I don't know if it's a bug hatch. I don't know if it's fronts coming through. I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's just a midsummer bite and that's the way it is. But fishing has been incredibly tough. So don't overcomplicate things. Don't try to figure out why it's tough and do something from there. Focus on those little things and you'll catch more fish. So thank you guys for watching. If you're not yet, please subscribe. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. We'll see you guys next time.